Lycanthropy, also known as Wolfman syndrome, is a form of madness in which a person experiences regular routine bouts of emotions of melancholy, prolonged periods of isolation, and over time begins to think and behave as if they're an animal, oftentimes a wolf. And this form of madness also causes the person who has it to suddenly develop the urge, the desire to visit graveyards in the middle of the night. Lycanthropy was a term created by Greek physician Marcellus in the 2nd century. And lycos is Greek for wolf and anthrops means man, so lycanthropy is wolfman syndrome. In my digging and research, I believe that I have found at least 3 examples in the Bible of what I believe to be werewolves or were-like creatures. Let's get into it. The first example, which we'll talk about, is Nebuchadnezzar. If you're familiar with the book of Daniel, then you know that Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon. And he was fierce, he was prideful according to the Bible, he was arrogant, and he was also a brute. You see, Nebuchadnezzar was very harsh in his dealings with human beings. He often conducted himself as an animal, treated others like animals. In the book of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar has a divine revelation via a dream given to him by God. And the dream troubles him, and so he summons all of the Magians, astrologers, divinators, and soothsayers, etc., all throughout Babylon, and has them come to him. But he gives them an unusual request. You see, Nebuchadnezzar requests of them that they tell him the contents of his dream and then interpret it for him. And this is a fucking issue for them, right? Because they're like, hey, fam, that's not how this usually goes, right? We need for you to tell us the contents of your dream so that we may interpret it for you. But Nebuchadnezzar ain't trying to hear that shit. He like, nah, fuck all that bullshit you talking about. See, I could tell you the contents of my dream and you could tell me any old fucking bullshit. He like, nah, I'm not going for that. For me to know it's real, I need one of you motherfuckers to tell me the contents of my dream and then interpret it for me. So they're all fucking scratching their head nervous like, sire, what you're requesting of us, no man is capable of doing this. Only the gods, aside from yourself, have this information. So Nebuchadnezzar, being the fucking brute that he is, says, oh, word? Well, why the fuck do I have all you people here then? And he then passes a decree to have all of the Magians, soothsayers, astrologers, divinators, etc., all throughout Babylon rounded up and fucking killed. And so Daniel hears of this decree, and he's like, what's the purpose for this decree being passed? And someone fills him in and lets him know, Nebuchadnezzar needs someone to tell him the contents of his dream and then interpret it for him. So Daniel goes, oh, well, you know what? I think I'm your man, right? I think I could do this. And so Daniel is brought to Nebuchadnezzar. He then tells him the contents of his dream and then interprets it for him. Nebuchadnezzar is thankful. He then praises God. He then praises Daniel for what he's done and then elevates his status within the kingdom of Babylon. But you see, Nebuchadnezzar was harsh. Right? He was a brute, according to the Bible. And so immediately after this happens, he then has an idol built and fashioned, right? And then passes a decree that everyone in the land of Babylon must come and worship this idol. Along with Daniel, there are 3 others of the tribe of Judah who were captured, right? And who were trained to become divinators, Magians, soothsayers. Their names are Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They refused to worship this idol. And so Nebuchadnezzar then says, oh, word? Y'all don't want to worship this idol that I erected? Well, fuck that. Into the fiery pit for you motherfuckers. He then has them thrown into a fiery furnace, but they survive. An angel saves them. So when this happens, Nebuchadnezzar tells me, yo, come out of the fiery pit. He praises God and then elevates their status within the kingdom of Babylon. Later on, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. Matter of fact, I think it's his son that winds up having another dream, Nebuchadnezzar II, right? And this dream troubles him. And so he has Daniel, tell him the contents of it and then interpret it for him. And Daniel pretty much tells him, hey, dog, God's pissed off at you. You're going to get transformed into a fucking animal, right? Because again, Nebuchadnezzar is described as being prideful, rebellious, as being a brute, as dealing with people harshly, conducting himself like an animal. And so after this dream is interpreted, right, Nebuchadnezzar is chilling with a bunch of princes, right? They eating and partying and shit. And then he says some slick, arrogant shit. And then he suddenly hears a voice, right? It's God telling him, hey, dog, yeah, that's how you feel? Well, listen, dog, I'm finna turn you into a fucking beast. So he's transformed into a creature. And the way that he is described, it mentions that the hairs on his bodies grew long like feathers, and he developed sharp eagle-like claws. Now, there are usually 3 reasons why people become werewolves, right, or transformed into a werewolf, oftentimes in werewolf lore. The first is they're a victim, right? Some poor innocent soul winds up getting cursed and transforms into a man-beast. The second is the damned. This is a person who gets transformed into a man-beast as a punishment. It's a punishment to their soul or body. And this is the category of werewolf that I believe that Nebuchadnezzar II falls into. I've run out of time on this one. Stay tuned for part 2 for more examples. Go be easy.